All right, so I like it when I get confirmation of my gut feelings. I love it when I get confirmation of my gut feelings. And even the habits that I developed that I didn't even know were like a life-saving mechanism for me. Well, what do you mean? Well, I just remember always wanting to sit in the dark, be in the dark, put makeup on in the dark, shower in the dark. What else? Cook in the dark. I became very sensitive to light, but not so sensitive that it stopped me from tanning or drinking, going to the beach, swimming. It didn't stop me from fishing. But I would have a habit of closing the curtains all the time, keeping the blinds closed. Even now, actually, I keep the middle house very dark. I mean, obviously heat rises, but it's so bright in the attic, and it's very bright even on the first floor, that actually I find the best place to be is somewhere in the middle of my house. Now, the basement is a great place to be in, but it's so cold down there, which is not bad. It's another place to go to when all the conditions are right. So I have a lot of options, but I've had the gut feeling that the light, even though you want to be lit with knowledge, the actual light, the UV rays, are deadly right now, especially during climate change. And we've been exploring why people are falling apart faster, why kids are breaking bones faster. I mean, yeah, it's malnutrition, absolutely. Malnutrition, lack of tolerance to meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, vegetables, salt, sugar, gluten. I mean, you name it. There's a food allergy for every single child out there, for every single food. And so not only are these kids malnourished with deficiencies, been reproduced on bodies at deficits for generations, but the environment has become even more aggressive. What does that mean, Jill? You keep saying aggressive. That means that the sun has been amplified by so many different things. What do you mean amplified? Well, you hear about the chemtrail activists, but they're saying that it's poison skies. No, it's EPA approved. Everything that's going on as far as the chemtrails, whatever, it's EPA approved. Parts per million are appropriate for the general population. And you hear about those that say that there's so much pollution, that you have to recycle this and you have to recycle that, But in reality, it is the amplification of the sun, plus then all the different experiments through NASA, through CERN, through all the different sciences that are playing with the atmosphere for whatever reason, and you can pick a storyline to adopt. And so with the amplification of the sun, not only does it burn brighter and hotter, but it also deteriorates bones faster, infrastructure faster. It causes extreme growth, acceleration of growth. That's the thing about the sun, is that you're seeing not only the turbo cancers, obviously you're seeing the malnutrition because of lack of tolerance to food, air, and water. But you're seeing such an accelerated growth that the body doesn't have time to process the resources properly, because a person is not only out there in the sun and the kids are playing out there and sunbathing, doing whatever, or playing in like sports and swimming, but they're not eating a proper diet, obviously. Obviously they're deficient and malnourished, but they are so busy trying to keep up with the next door neighbor, they're so busy trying to keep up with their peers that they're growing up so fast that the body is actually growing up and weakening. Because yes, that human growth hormone has been activated. That's why these kids are maturing faster. See, in a slower frequency environment, and the parents actually pull their kid back a little bit and not keep them so busy where they actually run themselves into the ground, their body has time to take on the meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and fruits and vegetables. Potentially, I guess, release the demons, I suppose, being sick. And so that's where you could potentially survive this environment, but this is not happening. What's happening is that parents are riding on the high, even themselves, riding on the high of extreme amounts of energy and burning resources more than they can actually retain. It's like giving $1,000 and that's all you can live on for like 2 months. And people are buying stupid shit they can't eat. And there's nothing left for food, for their infrastructure to keep them alive. And so what concerns me is seeing these right-wing parents, right? These patriot parents and right-wing parents who are against the system and against the computers and phones. And they're like, oh, Johnny, Billy, Susie, go outside. We're going back to 1985. Go outside. Play out there in the sun. The aggressive beating sun. The rays are so aggressive. And so the kids do that. They're like, oh yeah, it's so healthy. And then you have the parents who are like all like holistic and they're sun gazing, breatharians on their little diets. And so they're being depleted so aggressively and so much faster. And of course they are on their different, like I said, food mitigation diets and fear of food and all that. And so what used to be acceptable 40 years ago, 50 years ago, before the internet, right, is now being used as a platform to resist change. And that lifestyle is going to actually work against not only the parents, but also the children. And so what prompted me to say this, because I was watching the last few years, I've been binge watching The Vampire Diaries, Grey's Anatomy, and all the different vampire movies. And even like Madam Secretary, so I also saw the government type of background stuff. And when I figured out allegory tells us everything. Allegory is telling us about what the vampires were. Vampires are not some mythical creatures. They actually represent humans who feed off each other. Okay, so vampires represent humans who feed off each other, feed off their family, feed off their friends, feed off of animals. They've made them so fantastic. What do you mean them? They made the vampire allegory so fantastic that you didn't have a relationship with that and you'd call it Satan or something. It depends on what religion you believed in. And so you thought vampires were like something completely different, far removed from humans, that they were a separate entity like aliens or reptilians or whatever. But in actuality, the vampires represented the humans, daywalkers, nightwalkers, and all that would hunt things and suck the life out of it and then dispose of it and go find the next thing to go hunt and suck the life out of and dispose of. And that's actually humans. What that allegory represented was the humans. Because when I was taking a shower yesterday, and I have a picture window in my bathroom, and there's no other house next to me, so the sun goes directly into my bathroom, right through that picture window. And I'm taking a shower like in the morning. Usually I take a shower like at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and so much more active because during the day is when I start getting tired and feeling crazy feelings because it's the fucking sun. But I took a shower. So my husband, he was shopping to go on his trip today. And so I was on his schedule. I've been on his schedule. And my God, his schedule is crazy because it's like, it's sleeping in a little bit later and doing things a little bit later in the day. And I do things really early in the morning because that's when I thrive the most. And so I was taking a shower and I see just all these glitter sparkles like all over the shower curtain. I was looking through my eye, like my actual eyeballs, obviously. And there's little black filaments that are kind of moving every time I move my eye. It was so weird. And there was sparklies. And I wasn't like faint. I wasn't feeling sick. I was just in an aggressive high pressure situation, which is basically the sun coming through the picture window directly onto me as I'm taking a shower. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is what it means when the Cullens, Edward Cullen, when he was showing Bella, when he was in the sun, he would start pixelating or sparkly glitter. And even though they glamorized it, you know, in the Vampire Diaries, that's exactly what kind of is going on. It's like entropy. There is some kind of chaos and movement and yeah. And so after I took a shower and I got dressed and everything, and we went to the store. It's probably the wrong time to go shopping, but I needed, you know, shorts and underwear, and he needed stuff, and I needed also stuff before. So when he's gone, I have food here and all that. But we were at a Walmart that wasn't a super Walmart. So I'm looking for stuff thinking that this is a super Walmart. No, it was one of those Walmarts that only had a few things of food, but the rest is like home goods and living. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm just looking for stuff frenetically, and I feel like I'm going to faint. And I was sweating so hard. I was so hungry. Like I could have eaten the frozen pizzas that were in the refrigerators at the market. And so, you know, the last couple of days has been like that, but not only been bloated, but also so massively hungry, like massively hungry. You know, even a couple of days ago, I wanted a pizza. So we bought a pizza for me, and I basically just ate it like I hadn't eaten in forever. And then yesterday, when we were shopping and we finally got done shopping, I'm like, okay, I need some food. And, you know, we were kind of irritated at each other. So I'm like, I need this much water. I need this. I need that. He's like, oh my God, nothing's going to happen. This is where him and I were like kind of discussing in a heated way my fears about the apocalypse. And he's like, I'm not spending this much money on all this stuff. I mean, but if the lights go out and we have gas, the water is not run by electric. It's run by a pump. No, I don't know. Is the water run by? No, the water is run by the city. Anyway, so if we had to, I'd drink tap water. But we bought so much water, and so after all that, after we were discussing stuff about the apocalypse and what we should spend our money on, then I'm like, I need to freaking eat. And so we went to Taco Bell, and when I got that little quesadilla, it was like, it was the first food I've eaten ever. It was almost the same thing back a couple of years ago, July 2022, when I ate that spaghetti after a couple of days of not eating because I was so sick. And so it was like worshiping that spaghetti. I was worshiping that quesadilla. And I got enough food. I'll be fine. And then when he comes home, we'll go shopping one more time, full tank of gas, and hopefully, you know, there's still food at the grocery store. People hadn't bought it all out. But, oh my gosh. Yeah, so I finally figured out that it is the sun. That's why I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why I'm up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. That's one of the most active, is really early in the morning. And during the day, less active because the sun is so fucking aggressive. It is. Even right now with the sun coming through, I can still feel, I mean, it feels nice. You got to have some vitamin D, but there's got to be a limit. You can't play what you played a couple, like 20, 30 years ago of sun gazing and think you can be out there. Oh, no. I knew the sun was fucking dangerous. I knew it was. And so I said, kids today, right? So I'm going to go down my timeline and go as far as I want to go to whatever is appropriate. So kids today are growing up so fast, they barely can take enough resources to distribute the strength from nutrition to their infrastructure. So you can only imagine that when kids are out there, or myself out there playing with everybody, just pretend I'm going back to the old world in a new environment, and I'm drinking and smoking and doing drugs and gallivanting at the beach and going to places, to fairs, to outdoor events, and the sun is beating so hard. When energy conversion from maturity happens faster than their ability to process meat, milk, cheese, and eggs, so that the environment is so aggressive that it's causing things to happen faster, energy conversion, and you're not keeping up with the nutritional resources for that energy conversion, and maybe you're still stuck to only eating maybe 1 or 2 meals a day. You're not so hungry because it's so hot outside. Remember when you were on the J juice? See that, the sun coming in? Remember on the J juice? And people were not hungry because they were cured? That's what the sun does. When you're out there in the environment, you're not going to want to eat when you have that much ionic activity causing you to be cured. And so then you get skinny, maybe you don't feel symptoms right. That's what people are under. They're being deteriorated from the inside, and they don't feel a damn thing because the sun is curing them. No different than what J Juice did back in the beginning. That's why these kids are falling apart. That's why the elderly are falling apart faster, triggering cancer faster. That's why the middle-aged are looking elderly now. They're people that are younger than me. They look like they're older than me because they're aging so fast because their lifestyle is outdoors. The outdoorsmen men who are outdoors most of the time, they're aging aggressively. And if they are resisting disease and staying away from food, you can only imagine that people that are my age, or actually people that are younger, look like they're in their 70s and 80s. There's people that are young, way younger, like 20 years younger than me, that look older than me. Like, it's crazy. So when energy conversion from maturity happens faster than their ability to process meat, milk, cheese, and eggs, like a consumer spending so much money, they go into debt, causing more resources from the biological principle to be used up, thus causing bankruptcy. And that's also called die suddenly. That's also called triggering a cancer, which is an opposing force in the body that wakes up and takes over you, being kind of like possessed by a demon type of thing. Why do you think there's turbo cancers? Because people are at deficits, are out there gallivanting like as if the environment hasn't changed. They have opposing forces inside. They're not eating meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and all that stuff. And so they're not keeping up with the level of energy in the environment. And that's when they get eaten up by those microbes that are opposing in them inside and causing infrastructure breakdown, system failure, system shutdown, you name it, that's what's called. Like burning parts of your home to keep warm. Remember, I keep saying that in this environment with climate change and everything, it's throwing another log on the fire, and you better have enough fuel to keep throwing logs on the fire, especially if your lifestyle is so aggressive and so active in this environment and you haven't pulled back, stayed home, stay safe, drawn the curtains. I mean, people think I'm crazy. My husband's like, dude, I'm sorry. That's part of where my frustration, because my husband doesn't understand. Remember, he's built so much different. He has like 40 something years of taking on Cheetos and milk and ice cream and ho-hos and Twinkies and fast food and meat and milk and cheese and eggs and he's a strong Appalachian dude. So he has a lot of resources that he can convert and deal with and adapt and assimilate to. And I came from not only Vietnam, but then also from California, where it's all about yoga and jazzercise and diets and gluten-free everything, or, let's only do chicken and fish and that's it, because milk is bad and meat is bad, but only milk when you're at meals, but that's about it. Only a limited amount of ice cream and hardly any sugar and no salt. So I have a lot to catch up to. I can't play his games that he plays. I have to be home more than not. I can't be out there all the time, playing on the boat all the time, maybe occasionally. But I have to limit my exposure to the aggressive sun rays because they're amplified by all the different climate change, and you can speculate where the hell that means. But I see why people live underground. Okay? I see why the giants were taken down. The small humans that weren't so huge and so large and so oafy were strategic. That's how they took down their opponents. And so the humans, the smart humans, went underground while they were playing with the light and the mirrors and all that stuff And I can only imagine what they were doing to those giants, so many thousands of years ago. I can't even say a nuclear blast. That could potentially have happened. But I could see how then the free energy and using reflective light and then breaking that reflections down into particles can then amplify energy and cause disturbances, waking up the beast within, causing aggressive growth faster than the person can retain the resources and take in resources to convert to their infrastructure. And so if you want your kids to survive this, they'd have to slow the fuck down. Literally, they'd have to slow down and take on the meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, vegetables, and also release demons. And you know how parents are nowadays. They don't have the means or the resources to figure out what's going on. They only did what their parents taught them. And so, yeah, that's why the train's pretty much left the station. You can't do anything to change people. They're not going to change their lifestyle. They're going to sun gaze. They're going to be on their diets. They're going to take their speed 'em up supplements and drugs and whatever else. They're going to go all their fairs and vacations and go to the beach and all that stuff. They're going to have babies, so thus weakening the mother and the baby. I mean, yeah, it's done with. The train has left the station. And so the elderly also burn more resources than they can afford. Why people die? They burn more biological resources than they can afford, called system failure shutdown. And so, yeah, I said, I'm just going to go down the timeline here. So there's this, the Bajau tribe known as sea nomads come from the Sulu archipelago in the Philippines and other parts of Southeast Asia. They have larger spleens so they can go and be underwater for a large amount or for a long periods of time to go and spearfish so they can survive. And so they have the ability to adapt to their surroundings to survive. So humans have the ability to adapt and survive, but you have to understand what they're adapting to and actually make changes and deal with pain and suffering, of which you see the first world and even the third world countries have an issue with adaptation. And so they die and reproduce and then reproduce kids and genetic lines that will not survive. And so right now we are in a computerized, digitized society and trying to get kids and adults up to a certain level. But there's so many distractions even on the internet, games and, I don't know, movements and activism and just things like, stories and movies. And so it's going to take a very, it's going to take a strategic parent to figure out how to get their kid aligned with the future. And I'll tell you, people having kids that haven't figured out how to mature themselves, and they're having kids who are addicted to the digital stuff and don't know boundaries and aren't doing their chores or their homework, and they're stuck with one area. And I, in one area would mean one area, stuck in just doing, Fortnite and video games and all that. And so yeah, kids don't stand a chance in the society. They're not mature enough to handle responsibility of their digital world, as well as taking care of making their bed and brushing their teeth and doing their chores and going to school. So parents are too busy, right? Two working parents or single mothers, single fathers, or they don't have the tools to figure out how to work with all types of children. And the outdoors has proven to be dangerous societally, environmentally, and biophysically. When you've been raised in one way, in one type of environment in very similar cultures, like East, West, North, South, in America at least, change is deadly to those not prepared for it. So when the environment changes and you still have the same habits, and so there is no right answer. This kid destroyed his mother's house because she took away his video games or his digital devices, and that was that kid's key to his social life, to everything. And so when kids don't know how to be on their own and be a little bit isolated, but then also manage their social life and all of that, yeah. And so no matter what, there's no right answer for these parents dealing with kids who have behavioral issues, who are stronger, fearless, who will destroy things, use intimidation to get their point across, and even threaten. And that's a very scary thing, that we have kids that are like 5 or 6 years old that know how to threaten people. And you have kids who are 15 and 16, larger, bigger, and can do damage, and they do. And so, and there's no right answer. No matter which way this mother goes, she will lose. She gives in, the kid wins. That's what happens. You give in, the kid's going to win. They become monsters. And that's a monster in the making. She lays down the law and the child resists so hard, who knows what else could happen. You've seen that people have had kids murder their parents because of someone laying down the law. They didn't realize what kind of situation they were dealing with. And so right now it's dangerous to have children for everybody involved. But again, you can't legislate morals, so you just watch it happen. You watch everything play out. And so I had an epiphany about the dark and the pixelation that I saw in the shower yesterday, and then how I felt yesterday when I came home. I ate food. I had a bunch of that Taco Bell ate food. I relaxed. I took off my jacket. See, I was wearing another sweater, plus then a jacket, because they said it was 37 degrees outside, so I figured it was cold. But when you see the degrees of temperature out there, and it's like 23 and 37, right now it's 32, and I'm not even cold. It's actually pretty hot to me. And so it's deceiving. So I'm wearing, and I don't like wearing a bra because whatever, and my husband hates that I don't wear a bra, so that way I wear a bunch of clothes to cover up everything, so he doesn't, get all weird that I don't wear a bra. And so I was just hot and sweaty. So when I came home, I just took everything off except for a t-shirt and shorts that we bought and ate some food, and I felt so much better. Okay? And I had the curtains drawn, everything closed up. And so I knew why I liked the dark. I knew something was better about the darkness. I knew the light was going to be destructive. Innately, I knew a lot of things I didn't know why I knew. I know. I've always liked putting makeup on in the dark. I've always liked sitting in the dark because the sun is bright, but it's even more so now. But it wasn't bright 10 years ago, but I still prefer the darkness. It was bright. I just didn't know why. My gut knows, which is why I get annoyed at people say their children should be outside all the time, not on their phones or computers, but they are breaking down from the sun right now, and you should monitor their computer habits with parental controls, of course. You should monitor the TV habits with parental controls. But here's the thing. Not only are kids dealing with deficiencies and malnutrition, but the sun is also accelerating everything. The sun is amplifying everything right now. The sun is deadly. Okay, so again, why? Because there are little particles that reflect and amplify the sun. So you can imagine what the mirrors did and those nodes, those glass nodes that were in the churches, causing the beams of light to go and hit over the town. Okay, so at some point, someone used those free energy stuff, and it caused then a rapid acceleration of something. They figured out how to use that energy. I mean, Tesla's great free energy, but I'm telling you, we're getting free energy. Right now, we're getting free energy from the reflective. This is what's going on with the chemtrails and the particles and the cloud seeding. That's all free energy. Are you paying for the chemtrails? No, you're resistant, but that's free energy. That's what's amplifying the sun, giving you then not only the high energy and the making of the connections faster and being awake a lot longer, but also the turbo cancers, also the disease and the aging process. You really think you can handle free energy? No, people are dying from all the free energy they want. But that's the thing. Holy crap. I gotta write that down. I gotta write the hold on. I gotta put this down. What am I gonna say? What is it? Chemtrails, reflective nanoparticles are the free energy invented by Tesla harnessing what is it? Ions ions directing them at you so you can have all the free energy you want. But there's a price to pay. But there is a price to pay. That is called turbo cancers and aging faster. Okay? So that's what chemtrails are, is free energy. That's exactly what it is. And that's the thing people don't really realize. They are getting everything they could possibly want, and yet they're still having an issue with it. Absolutely. You want all the free energy? Well, here it is. You have all the chemtrails and the nanoparticles. And April 8th is going to be even more aggressive. CERN is another free energy. Free energy. You want free energy? There you go. There you go. Yep. Wow. Holy shit. So I'm telling you, man, you don't know who you're dealing with. The system knows exactly what it is you're dealing with. And they will use whatever you want against you. Okay? And so you have DEW, the Maui one, then the Star Spangled Splash. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, whatever. What did I say? I see why people live underground. The sun could actually destroy you because of the reflective particles. Tesla's free energy and using glass nodes in churches probably accelerate cancer and other issues the system figured out how to harness and use. And so that's probably why people were like, oh gosh, I got touched by Jesus. I had an epiphany. They had an energy conversion, a hormone type of response, and they thought that was the power of God or something. And the only way to build glass buildings was to have some pretty advanced cooling practices infused with architecture. But to live around glass buildings, you would have to be hit with amplified solar reflections and, cause cancer. What do you mean cause cancer? Particle acceleration, waking up the beast within, and replication. Okay? So you already have opposing forces within because you're always going to be around diversity, causing then that whole energy conversion of plus and minus. But if you are starving and you're not using the resources because you have intolerances to pain and suffering and food, air, and water, then those opposing forces will take over. And so the amplification of any kind of energy will then wake up the demons and cause growth, human growth hormones, as well as other growth to happen faster and called system shutdown, system failure. Okay? And so that's why I posted about the AI. I did an AI prompt. Now, I didn't say hot CERN sun. I just said sun, liquefying mannequin, biodiversity with sparkles and filaments in the backyard, as the backyard has drooping flowers and brown trees and brown grass. So I stay inside. The sun is amplified right now. Particle accelerate, microbes accelerate, growth accelerates. Humans must be vampires to live. No, you're not eating humans. You're eating animal meat. But people do when they have sex. They eat each other. O-U-T. And they also feed off each other, wanting and needing everything from their friends and family, company, and food and air and water and whatever, attention. And so you're eating animal meat, assuming that you are. If you're not, then you're starving. You're staying inside so the sun isn't melting you, right? And you move around in the dark because that's probably the safest time, which is why I'm up at 3 or 4 in the morning before the sun rises. I get a lot more done before the sun rises. I hate having to wait until later on to do the stuff, but when my husband's home, I don't want to be yelling and shouting on Facebook Live while he's sleeping. And so, I don't know. And so so if he is sleeping and I'm upstairs, then I'll try to be a little bit quieter if it's necessary. But at some point, this is all going to end because there's nothing left to really say anymore. April 8th is coming up 10 days. 10 flipping days. You have 10 days. And so if you're a vampire, you're staying inside, the sun isn't melting you, and you move around in the dark because it's probably the safest time. Now, don't go down the street in the dark. But, if you have to be out, getting groceries or doing things to take care of things, well, you got to figure out if it's safe or not. And so you keep your house dark and cool. Aggressive heat is what kills, especially when it's amplified. Okay, so the sun emits waves with different frequencies with gamma rays, X-rays, and ultraviolet. Radiation being the most high frequency. The frequency of wave is inversely proportional to its wavelength, meaning that the waves with higher frequency have a shorter wavelength. Shorter wavelengths are more energetic than longer ones, and shorter wavelengths tend to cause more harm. For example, UV light has the highest energy it can use and can cause damage to the DNA and other important cellular structures. And then when you have particles that are reflective, amplifying the sun's rays, and people are like, oh my God, the chemtrails are poison. No, they're amplifying sun rays. If you're out there pointing at the skies, you are getting hit by the sun's rays, and it's amplifying the danger. It's not that it's poison. You are taking in and exposing yourself to so much of that amplification of sun rays, and then you're telling everyone to take a remedy. And you're telling everyone that food is poison. And you're telling everyone to wear Faraday cages. What? Wearing silver. Wear silver because it reflects. Yeah, you know what's out in the atmosphere is silver. You're cooking inside. That's what's crazy about the activist community. They're actually taking what they think, they're actually taking what is actually going on and using it as a remedy and making shit worse. Because they think the chemtrails are poison. No, it's the sun that's being amplified is what's causing the issues. And of course, your malnutrition and your lack of release and retention, your lack of food and oh God. See, that's what I'm saying. It's too late. It's too fucking late. And so, warning from Daily Mail, it says, warning to anyone who sleeps with blinds open, it may increase risk of stroke or heart attacks by 40%, studies suggest. Well, absolutely. That's why I don't sleep with the blinds open. Everything is drawn close. See, even in here right now, it's bright. You see how bright it is? And so when Stevie J, when I said this and she responded saying, all I know is this definitely is not the same sun we were born under, I had to cut short a morning stroll as this light was burning my eyes. It is blinding. And it's like blue. It's not even a yellow it's blue. Okay? Blue is hot. And so I posted, stay inside. And so when IFL Science is saying here, people give random advice. You know what I say on the IFL Science? Stay home and stay safe. Stay home and stay safe. And that is appropriate for not only the whole COVID stuff, but also the freaking rays. The eclipse is going to cause then things to happen. People are going to be like looking at the sky with their glasses, sun gazing, right in the middle of, I'm just like, oh my God, this is a mass human sacrifice. But you can't tell people this. They don't fucking believe it. They're not that. I just have to laugh because what are you going to say? What are you going to say to thousands of people who are going to be flocking to all their different events, being outside during that time? And there's going to be a whole thing and concerns being turned on because of other things. And you can't, you can speculate that, correlation equals causation. But I'm going to tell you this, the sun is going to be amplified even more so. You thought it was bad when the CERN was turned on back in 2022. It was bad because that was around July 4th. Before that was 2016. No wonder the J juice came out of that. 2016 was like, what? That was crazy. Because 2016, I saw my parents that summer. I quit that job that I was in. I developed a protocol, researched it, got through all that. That's 2016. Then there's 2017. Then there was Eclipse 2017. And then 2018 was like, the whole Dr. Phil shit and Portugal. 2019 was right before the pandemic. I was dealing with all the different reporters and journalists that were talking smack about me. And it was the height of like all the court cases. And oh my God. And then the pandemic hit. And then 2020 and then 2021. And I was getting all the hives and all the different feelings of everything. And purging out the demons. And in 2022, oh God, the monster moved within. That was when the moment of truth. That was basically my rebirth and my death. And that was when CERN was also reactivated. And so I was just like, oh, and I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so the whole stay home and stay safe, abso-friggin-lutely. It is time to stay home and stay safe. You don't have to wear a mask. But it is time now to stay home and stay safe. And I wouldn't be out there with the eclipse. I would actually lessen my movements out there. I wouldn't be traveling. I wouldn't be going to the beaches. I wouldn't be going to the lakes too many times. But then I'm married to an outdoorsman. An alpha male outdoorsman. He's like, I don't feel anything. What's wrong? Oh, he'll be feeling some shit come April 8th. Everyone will be. And I tell him, honey, if you need to shit your pants, if you need to shit, if you need to throw up and sneeze and cough and do whatever, do it. And don't try to treat your disease if you can, and make sure that you just do what you got to do and don't try to hold everything in, because I'll tell you, yeah, it's, I don't even know. How do you tell people this? You can't even, they can't even handle this information. They fucking can't handle this information. And so I said, yep, frequencies and solar rays are far more aggressive. I pretty much have my blinds closed. The sun's going through my picture window in the bathroom. I close the door to the bathroom. I keep it dark upstairs. Okay? Yeah, warning. What is it? Alpha male outdoorsman will have a hard time with this information. No one or anything has ever really stopped alpha males from doing what they do. Okay? And so I saw in the shower, saw the sparkles like the vampires in the sun, and you see glitter. I saw glitter and a black filament strip. What the fuck? I saw glitter. I'll tell you, man, the yesterday was pretty bad. Yeah, I don't care. I'll leave the fucking typo there. Because yesterday I was feeling like I was just out of my mind. My husband was like, you need to be out more. No, the fuck I don't. He's like, yeah, you're in bed all the time and in the house all the time. You need to get out more. We have different immune systems. You have a lot more logs you can burn on the fire. I don't. I blow up like a freaking Stay Puft marshmallow, and there's no way that's going to happen. Okay? And so, when the frequencies and the sun is amplified even more so, and the weather is coming in, of course, we're going to have crazy Florida weather too. People get short fuse, low tolerance for incompetence. People's lifelines, people's paychecks are on the line when it comes to trucking. And if you can't back into a space and you need help with people and you're holding up everybody and causing lines and lines of people waiting, some people are going to fucking snap. And so, yeah, short fuse people. If you don't know what you're dealing with out there and people are stressed out, you're taking up room and time, people have no patience. Okay? And again, more freaking typos. Because yesterday I was still like, I'll tell you, I trying to get this information out and not have all these typos. It's like, it sounds like I have, I don't know. It sounds like I'm retarded, but whatever. I know that wasn't a nice thing to say, you're retarded, but I don't sound very smart. Yeah, there's been shootings around in my neighborhood. Not neighborhood, but in my town. And yeah, when the weather gets good, just like the Santa Ana winds, the double winds, when they start blowing, the hot Santa Ana winds over there in California, when they start blowing, people go a little bit crazy. Well, it's happening over here. That's why I stay out of harm's way. I don't go out there. Okay? Okay, there's that. Reactivated CERN on April 8th. Okay. When you're desensitized to death and fear of government, you might save yourself. Okay, so here's the thing. Alpha males have no one to fear but law enforcement. And maybe some other alpha male that's stronger than them. And so if you're like the strongest kid, the biggest bully on the block and everything, then you'll use your weight, you'll use your whatever it is to throw your weight around. You'll use your fear and intimidation way to throw your weight around. And that's great, maybe, but people take advantage of that. They abuse their power. And so then they become fearless. And then also absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we've bred that in our boys and even in our girls, and myself included. And so when you have been held accountable, I had my ass kicked by girls my age a long time ago. Yeah, that was a pretty interesting lesson. But no more can you be kicking people's asses. No more should you be threatening people's lives. No more should you use intimidation as a way to get your point across so you can throw your weight around because you think you're right. Now it's about intellectual capacity and providing extremely logical and credible arguments that are not based in intimidation and fear. Okay? And so when you're desensitized to death and you're in fear of your government, you might actually save yourself. When you're desensitized to your government and in fear of death, yeah, see you later. Because what happens is if you don't care if you live or die, even better for the government. But what happens when people are desensitized to their government, right? They're like, oh, I'm not afraid of the government. It's time to resist. It's time to do this, time to do that. Then what's going to happen is they will be manipulated into reacting in a specific way, causing their own death. That's called strategy. It's like when I knew someone who played racquetball that was smaller than their opponents, and they used strategy to beat their opponents. It wasn't brute force. It wasn't strength. It wasn't even size. It was strategy to destroy your opponents. And that's what it's going to take, is that those alpha males and females who like to use intimidation and threatening people to kick their ass and all this other shit, the government's going to be like, yeah, well, we are not dealing with that anymore. So if you're all about pleasure and paradise and resisting everything, and you're all about, playing out there and doing whatever, and no one can tell you what to do because you are free and an independent person, the environment's going to kick your ass. And no one is around you. No one's telling you what to do. Yeah, they did tell you to stay home and stay safe way back when. You resisted, said, no, I'm a free person. You can't tell me what to do. So fine. Okay, so the system saw people resist the mask, resist staying home and staying safe. They're out there playing the pleasure in paradise, and the sun is amplified even more so. They're out there in their activism saying, oh, look, the chemtrails. And they're outside letting the sun be amplified onto them. Yeah, the environment's going to kick your ass, and no one has to lift a damn fucking finger. You chose to be out there. You chose to resist. You chose to go against recommendations. You chose to be a little shit because you're an alpha female and an alpha male. You thought you knew better than everybody else. That's how the system will cut down the alpha females and the alpha males who think that they know everything because they've been able to throw their weight around because their mommy and daddy said that they were basically indestructible and invincible and no one should tell you what to do. Do what you want, Johnny, Billy, Susie. No one's going to hold you accountable. Well, Mother Nature and the environment and those who understand strategy and psychology and science and everything else, they will cut down those who are so hard to control because they were told they do no wrong. They were bailed out of every situation. They never understood accountability. They always relied on somebody else to clean up their fucking messes. And so at some point, the system is tired of that bullshit. And so they're doing a great reset. That's what you're in right now. Is major biological, sociological, physiological, same thing, and intellectual accountability. And it's brutal. Brutal. So remember, I'm not the enemy. I just know when I have been outsmarted by my own government. So I'm crying uncle. And so it was never about how strong you were or how much fear of God you put into people. It was how strategic you were and are. Are you smarter than your own opponent? All of us must answer to someone tangible, not icons or air. Okay, so alpha males and females and the giants fell to the strategic beta smaller humans. The bigger you are, the harder you will fall. The more fearless you are, the easier it will be to lead you into danger. Okay? And so when Yvette, is that her name? Was saying that her husband doesn't listen to warnings either. Like, my husband doesn't listen to warnings. He's like, oh, you're all in your head. You're whatever. A lot of alpha males out there who are used to use intimidation or mocking as a way to control information and control how they perceive it. Well, I think it is the alpha males who have issues with intuition. They cannot handle anyone putting fear into them. They think they are the ones who put fear into others. beta males know what it's like to be bullied by the alpha males, so they have better intuition, which is why I see a lot of trans people and gay people have a lot more intelligence when you think about it than some of the straight males, alpha males, because they've been bullied. They felt what it's like to have somebody just threaten their life, and they have to be strategic, saving their own life, trying to escape the bullies, the intolerant people. And so it's interesting listening to trans people's cadence of speech, their perception of biology, and then you hear those like right wing, they're like, oh, you're this and you're that, no. And I'm like, no, this trans person actually speaks so much more intellectually better, intellectually, I can't even think of the word. They sound smarter than some of those who have been ostracizing them. And I'm just like, wow, they even use big words. I mean, I like listening to those who have been through some shit that are able to explain their position. And they're using college words. They are intellectually capable. Much more than some of those that are in resistance to those who are different. And so those who have been bullied and genocided, potentially even persecuted, probably have a better understanding and intuition of humans, and then learning how to stay alive than those who have thrown their weight around and bullied others. And so the system is getting rid of the alpha males and the alpha females who think that nothing affects them, that they are, you know, the end all be all, and they can do whatever the hell they want because, you know, they have something on their side. All their friends or family, you know, their groups or gangs and all that shit. So, okay. So, but it is the alpha males who act so fearless and be so fearless, they will walk into a volcano and deny they will get burned. Good luck with that. Okay. Good luck with that. The system is getting rid of alpha males, alpha females, and people in denial. You just hope that the beta people will clue in the alphas that they aren't as invincible as their mommy and told them they were. So if you look at my relationship with my husband, I'm more of the beta. My husband's the alpha. But, you know, he does what he does. I can only advise him. He will have to make choices. But he is an alpha male. Absolutely. But he's smart. Okay? When you have been a victim of alpha males and females, now am I a victim of my husband? No, but there are alpha males out there that bullied me. That still today bully me. Okay? There are alpha females out there that try to bully me through their perceptions of everything. And so when you have been a victim of alpha males and females, you will recognize danger for what it is. Alpha people will be cut down to size. The government must take the place of their parents, or else alpha people will destroy the world. That's the thing about those who have never had anyone check them for their bullies, for their behaviors, for their perceptions of a person, place, or thing, crossing boundaries constantly, unless some boundaries are put in place. So part of me is sighing with relief. I'm tired of intellectual, societal, and religious political bullies. Yes, I probably was one. And I did repent. Let me tell you, the pain and suffering of releasing demons and changing my tune about certain things because I saw the logic and the science behind what was going on. Wow. Okay. Since I played both sides, I played bully and I played victim, I understand now what the system is doing. Okay? And so I repented. And so if you are an alpha female, male, or a person in denial, there is one higher power you have zero control over. And I'm not talking about God, Jesus, Yeshua, or anything. It's called your government. My hubby is an amazing man. Yes, he is an alpha male, which is what is extremely attractive to me about him, but I must work double time to clue him in and keep myself safe. I can't keep him safe. I can only say, here, honey, here's the logic, here's the science, here's what you need to do, understand the physics, and you will make your choices. And I just hope he takes my advice. Even the alpha people deny anyone has any power, any more power over them. Even then, alpha people deny anyone has any more power over them than they have over themselves. Okay? Alpha people think that nobody can control them. alpha people think they answer to nobody. Okay, and that's why you get such awesome criminals, because they figure out how to obey the law until the law figures out what they're doing. They never had to cry uncle. They either were stronger than the people around them, or they were under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And so liquid and herbal courage, deadly combination in this environment. And so you see people that are under the influence, they're suffering, they don't know danger for what it is, and they're throwing their weight around. Because that's what they've been told, is that they answer to no one, not even a stranger. That they have the power to convert strangers into their belief system. That's how fearless people have been. Well, the system is tired of having to deal with those who are under the influence, who think that they have power and control over strangers and other people's lifestyles and belief systems. And so the system says, okay, well, you can't physically hurt somebody. You can't physically convert them into your line of thinking. You can say what you got to say wherever. And so the system also gives people options to block and delete and do whatever. So that way people aren't subjected to the verbal abuse and emotional abuse that those who are suffering, who've been told that they do no wrong, never were held accountable for anything in their life unless it was by the law. So that way people can be safe from those types of people. And I'll tell you, it's a sad state of affairs that we have to do that, but that's what we have bred in our children. Told our children that they do no wrong. Always bailing them out of situations where they never had to fear anything, never had to fear consequences to their actions. No one ever held them accountable. And so they're out there in the world doing whatever the hell they want, and then the law has to come in and be the one to hold them accountable. The justice system has to be the one to hold them accountable. I thought I was invincible around making claims. I even was talking to the FTC. Well, you guys are saying this because you're trying to da, da, da. And he's like, do you really believe that? Whatever. I said some argument that was just like, okay, come on. You sound like a flippant activist. You sound like someone on TV that was told to say this line as a way to show what people do when they're in resistance. Oh, it's just a scam. It's just a scam. Like I'm watching on Grey's Anatomy. And some of the last episodes, the last season, they're talking about COVID and how people were denying COVID and saying it was just a scam for the doctors to get all this money. And they had a character say that. I'm like, oh my God, I even said that like 3 years ago. I hear myself on freaking Grey's Anatomy. And so when I was saying something to that effect to the FTC, when I was in resistance to not making claims, I wanted to make the claims I wanted to make. And they're like, you can't do that. It's against the law. It's illegal. And I said what I said. He's like, do you really believe that? And I'm just like, I might have said yes. And I think at some point between that phone call and then the future, I finally figured out that I was wrong. I finally figured out that I couldn't make claims that J-Juice should not be used as a cure. J-Juice is not a cure. You can't guarantee you're going to get relief. And that's not what your intention. And then I had to explain what my intentions were and even characterize pain in a different way. And then also embrace all the food in the food supply. And so then that opened me up for then the other arguments. That then you realize you can't help anyone take away their pain and suffering. You can't do anything. You can only watch them destroy themselves. But to them, that's not destroying themselves. They're just trying to get relief and eventually rest in peace. So whatever. And so, yeah, liquid and herbal courage, like alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff. Yeah, deadly combination in this environment. And so, yesterday I woke up to a headache, and I released the demons the night before. But I woke up to a headache yesterday that when I drank the espresso, it helped constrict the blood flow, so it wasn't so painful. Not that I'm saying people should do that, because I'll tell you, drinking coffee to get rid of a headache may not always work for people because it might have an opposite effect. And so it just depends on your immune system and where you are on that spectrum of what's going on. And since I've already released a lot of demons and already felt the pain and suffering, my lymph nodes are open and all this other stuff, whatever was going on that caused me to have an actual headache in the front here, waking up to one, when I just did my usual thing, drinking coffee with cream, that actually helped me, give me not only energy to push things through, but also constrict the vessels to then help with that relief. Not that that was the intention. I just do what I was doing, but that was just kind of and not say using food as medicine, just whatever it was. And then yesterday I was feeling whatever I was feeling at the grocery store. So I still had to pay for that pain and suffering, but I needed to give myself energy to deal with yesterday, because yesterday was preparing for so much stuff. My husband shopping and me getting food and figuring some stuff out. And it was just bad. It was a nightmare in that grocery store. It was a nightmare shopping yesterday. It was a fucking nightmare. Okay? When you feel like you're going to pass out, when you feel so hungry, when you feel like you're sweating so much and your mind is going crazy and you're just feeling it all and people are like bumping into you because it's crowded, but you're not getting annoyed. You're just like keeping that contained and you're just being polite to the people around you, but they're in your freaking way. I tell you, man. Oh, God. It was bad. So food is what's going to save you. Yes, we're climbing into a new atmosphere. Okay, food is what's going to save you. Shitting your brains out and sweating and throwing up might be what's necessary to make room. Massive growth will happen. It's bad. It's already bad. It will be bad. April 8th and thereafter will be bad. This is not just for those in the path of totality. This is for the world. CERN is global. Okay? And so, yeah, dealing with people in denial is like raising children. You can only warn them. You can't live their life for them. No matter the resistance, your words, fears, and feelings will be recognized someday, and you hope it will be just in time for them to make that choice and maybe save themselves. But you're not their friend at that point. You are now the seed. It will grow when it's time. My husband and I were in the car, and I was telling him, like, you don't know what's going to happen. He's like, I don't want to hear any more about the apocalypse. Like, literally, he doesn't want to hear anything more about it. And I'm just like, is his denial going to compromise me? No, I'm not going to let it. No matter what, we have enough food. I have flour. I have sugar. I have salt. I have oil. I have, a little bit of meat. I have meat and I have milk and I have some fruits and vegetables. And I will survive for 1 to 2 weeks to 3 days, whatever. But that's the thing about it, is like when people around you are in such fucking denial because they can't feel anything. And you feel it because you have a different immune system. Oh, it's maddening. That's why I figured out the alpha males, which is a double-edged sword. I like alpha males. I like the strength. I like the fearlessness. I like all the things about alpha males, but that also can come at a deficit. That can come as a detriment. They don't see danger for what it is. They don't feel it. Whether they have a strong immune system and they have a lot of body to take on whatever, and they don't feel the shifting and the differences, or they're under the influence of drugs, alcohol, and other things. So they don't feel shit. And they get liquid courage of resistance. And then hatred and intolerance, and the train left the station. So dealing with people in denial is like raising children. You can only warn them. You can't live their life for them. No matter the resistance, your words, fears, and feelings will be recognized someday or not. They'll just die suddenly, right? And you hope it will be just in time for them to make that choice. You're not their friend. You're now the seed. It'll grow when it's time. And sometimes it's worth the fight. Sometimes it's worth pissing them off. Sometimes it's worth them questioning your sanity. The people you care about, you will fucking piss them off with your truth. Okay? You don't want to tear down the house and be like, all right, well, you're stupid. I'm leaving. No. You take them to a certain point where they're just like, oh, I can't listen to this anymore. And then you just let it go. Which I did. But I know what's coming. And I know people are not prepared for. I mean, they've been sick. They've been sick more than usual the last 3 years, but they still don't realize what's going on. Their friends and family are dropping like flies, right? Cancer, disease, chronic illness. But they're blaming it on the V's. But they think, oh, the sun, you're supposed to get a bunch of sun. Well, yeah, but right now it's a little bit crazy. It's different. Frequencies. They don't even want to listen to frequency. Oh my gosh. Here we go. I remember how sick I was in 2022. 2016, birth of JJ. Why is CERN being activated on April 8th, the same day as the infamous eclipse? Supposedly, the particle collider can accelerate protons to a rate that's only 7 miles per hour slower than the speed of light, resulting in 11,000 trips around the rings per second. After CERN started its Awake experiment in 2016, conspiracy theorists were convinced CERN was opening portals in the sky when photos taken near this facility revealed strange electromagnetic storms above it. Yeah. And it's not a coincidence that the J juice got birthed at that time. It's not a fucking coincidence. It's not a coincidence how aggressive I felt and sick I felt in July 2022 when it was reactivated again. Okay? And so churches are burning down in my town. All right, well, the end of Christian America. And so this is what I posted. See, like I said about the two storylines about World Economic Forum is either a private entity or controlling world governments, and you can choose your own adventure. But there's always going to be the official story that will never ever be questioned. That will always be what will be the historical footprint. So no matter what happens in the past and in the future, the official story, the official narrative will always stand the test of time. It's all the conspiracies and the fears and the speculation will always be questioned and even potentially not even make it to history. And so those with short memories will only look at what was the official narrative. Those with long memories know when to shut the hell up way down in the future. And they know you don't mess with your government. You don't say anything because you know some parts of society will die and reproduce with short memories. Another part of society will be like the Rosicrucian with long memories and know how shit works and will stay silent about how it works because they've played that game before. And they're lucky enough that they actually get to live their lifestyle, which was in question many years back. The whole J juice and the whole potential biological immortality is in question and it's being resisted against. But down the line, way in the future, it'll be something that some people will be allowed to do. Other people won't even know it existed. And if it does exist, they may not be able to do it. And who knows what, they may have a chance to. But again, you can't legislate morals. But that's the thing is that then, yeah. So there's always going to be an official narrative and then those narratives that are always in question and speculative, and you can't prove a damn thing because the official narrative is always going to be the one that will stand the test of time. And so the hilarious thing is watching mainstreamers turn into conspiracy theorists. So watching people even in the anti-V groups that post stuff about whatever they post, about that there's new legislation, that the WEF, that Louisiana or some state is that's going to deny the influence of the World Economic Forum. And I'm just like, the World Economic Forum is a global entity that has nothing to do with your state. It doesn't have anything to do with government. And so I posted the official narrative, of which someone then laughed at it. 3 laughs on it, right? And they're like, oh my God, you don't realize? No. They're controlling Trump and Biden. And I'm like, there's 2 storylines. And so no matter what, the official narrative will always stand the test of time. Both are true, but you can't prove one. But you can prove the other one, but you can't prove the other one. Okay? So the hilarious thing is watching mainstreamers turn into conspiracy theorists. I don't think they are prepared for what's going to happen. This is not a fad. This was never a fad. It's a little late now. It takes time to physically and mentally prepare yourself for major changes. It's not something that you can jump into. Conditioning takes time. It's literally a holistic approach. It's body, mind, and spirit. It is financial. It is geography. It is climate. It is the economics of the area. It is the future plans. It is also weathering the storms as it goes through change. Okay? So you got to look at if you're living in Florida, Arizona, California, Texas, areas that have such aggressive weather, whether it's so hot or so cold, and you're reliant on climate control in your house, you're reliant on some kind of the grid, you're reliant on gas and fuel, and you live in extreme areas, can you imagine what it's going to be like when you don't have those to go to as far as climate control? Okay? And so you have to condition your body to deal with climate control. How do you do that? Well, your body has to be the one to climate control. If you don't have AC and you don't have heat, you better have a fireplace. You better have at least a house that has some insulation. You better have some blankets and some meat on your fucking bones. Okay? If you're in a hot place, you better have some meat on your bones. You better have a basement to go into. You better have some shade. And you better have some water. Okay? Because The sweating is also putting a log on the fire, giving you fuel to give you some AC. Yesterday, I was sweating my ass off. We're wearing so much stuff because I was thinking, oh, it's going to be so cold. And I wasn't wearing a bra, and I don't want to put one on, so I was wearing so many things. I was sweating my ass off. But I had the infrastructure to throw another log on the fire, used for fuel to sweat, or to give me heat. But if you weigh next to nothing, or morbidly abundant, then you're going to be smothering your vital organs, but you'll also be exposed to aggressive weather. And you won't have the comfort and the privilege of climate control to regulate your external temperature in your house. And then you have to rely on survival of your body, mind, and spirit. And if you don't have that, can you imagine how that's going to affect those who do not have the regulation of their temperature? Their thyroid and other things are offline because of so many issues. We've been so lucky that we've had the privilege of climate control. But when you don't have that anymore and you have to rely on your actual body, do you think your body's going to be able to carry you through? No, that's in question for a lot of freaking people in so many different areas. And so conspiracy theory is not just another notch on your bedpost. It is an approach that takes everything and will put everything you ever believed in question. It's not thoughts and prayers. It's not blaming someone or something. It's for why you feel pain. It's not even about resistance. You had your chance to resist and wake up and then change. You resisted resistance. Now you're a sitting duck, and now you're going to jump on the bandwagon of, oh God, the government's out to get us. Not necessarily. They've been out to get you for many years, but you're like, playing pleasure in paradise. And then when finally you're seeing these things are happening and you never said anything before, but now you're seeing, oh gosh, a ship. There's some question about that. Well, how's that any different than anything else that's been going on the last 20 years, ever since 9/11? Like, you haven't even talked to your audience about, hey, is there something going on? They wait until everyone's on the same page, so to speak, and then they jump on the bandwagon. Well, it's a little bit fucking late now, isn't it? You resisted resistance, now you're a sitting duck. Your family can't save you. Your little friends can't save you. Your dog can't save you. Your cat can't save you. Even your husband and wife can't save you specifically. Your activism won't save you. You had the last 3 years to condition yourself for pain and suffering and major changes. The system told you, but you thought it was just temporary. You resisted the future plans that were told you about climate change and sustainability. You couldn't have the same life you had, and if you tried, you wouldn't survive. See, even those in the J world, they're like all in the bandwagon of the J world, right? Oh yeah, gotta do the J juice, do this and that, and then you see people falling away. They're not keeping up with the information. I said, bro, you should stay home and stay safe. I don't wear a mask, but you stay home, release the demons, eat all food. Probably shouldn't go into a diverse company. I'm making a recommendation here. That's all I'm doing. I'm just making recommendations. Advising. I'm not going on your page telling you what you should do. You're like, oh, look, I'm with my family. I'm hanging out with all my little friends. Oh, look, all my little activities. All my traveling. I'm like, are you serious? Oh, my God. And one day the war reaches your doorstep. You'll be shocked and dismayed. You'll be speechless. Denial is a disease unto itself. Do you know how long the government has been preparing for this day, April 8th? The last 100 years. Before my parents. You think you're going to survive? You haven't even thought about changing even a little bit? Oh, I did the J juice for a minute. I've changed. That was the people's claim to fame in the J. Some people in the J world. Oh, I did a little bit of J juice. I hung on. I was in your group. Now I'm all, enlightened as they're out there gallivanting. Denial is a disease. This day is coming. Imagine the internet goes dark and the phone lines go down and electricity is turned off. Your world goes dark. Can you sit in silence when your empire has crumbled? You don't have people buying your shit. You don't have all your audience giving you social capital. You have no one to bitch and complain to. No one can afford buying all your cars. Your empire, your money train, your money line is going dry. Can you defend your home? Will your dependents survive? This is not about an enemy coming to you, like people think, like the migrants are going to come and get you. No. People think the Russians and the Chinese and North Koreans are coming to get them. Not necessarily. It's defending your home and your resources and yourself from your peers who may want to loot if they see there's no one occupying it. The butler and the Summit County Sheriff told you, Ohio. Imagine you by yourself with your thoughts. It's just you and your maker and whoever's around you and whatever you think you're prepared for. Imagine 1 to 2 weeks, your whole life interrupted. It only takes 1 to 2 weeks for the body, mind, and spirit and society to break down. If you're not adequately prepared and conditioned for that change and hardship, then you'll be in belief and denial, right? And so, what's the example? The official narrative, right? The World Economic Forum is an independent organization that's not tied to any political, partisan, or national interests. The World Economic Forum is made up of a business, political, academic, and other leaders who come together to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. The World Economic Forum has no enforcement power in the United States. And people would disagree. They say that Biden and Trump or whoever is under that. So that's the official narrative. And the unofficial narrative is plausible deniability. The WEF controls world governments. And so you are in Survivor. The American version of Survivor has a motto that is often quoted by the host Jeff Probst: outwit, outplay, outlast. This motto refers to the ability to outsmart other players, outmaneuver them, and eliminate them in a way that helps one long-term success. Outlast also refers to the ability to adapt socially and physically throughout the game. And that's what you're in. You're in Survivor. You're up against your peers, your friends, your family, the government, your lifestyle, your belief system, your politics, religion, and science. So imagine when that Facebook reel comes to truth and that guy was saying that one day it'll be dark and your empire is going to crumble. You won't have any more MLMs. You have nothing to sell people. It'll be just you and the people around you that you'll have to survive. The microbes, the looters, those who are like, oh, I didn't prepare. Can you help me? I mean, that's the thing that you're going to deal with is your friends and family who never prepared, who thought they took you as a joke. And now they're stuck in their home with hardly any food. Maybe they have water. Maybe the tap water is still going, but they have no food. So what are you going to do when your neighbors and your friends and family come crawling to your house looking for food? And you have only for you and your husband or your wife or your kids. But you can't afford to feed the neighborhood. You can't afford to feed your friends and family who didn't fucking prepare. How are you going to deal with that? Those who laugh in the face of warnings, who don't take you seriously. And then you realize this is only going to be temporary, because once the lights go back on and the resources come back and whatever, you have access to those. And then you got to deal with your friends and family afterwards. Are you prepared for that? Do you even see? That's the thing. When the lights go out and you don't know how long you'll be out, but you only have enough food for 1 to 2 weeks, and you have people around you that need food because they didn't prepare, and you don't know if it's going to be it could be more than that, but you don't know, but you can't afford to feed them. What choice are you going to make? Because when the lights go back on and they're like, well, you never fed me, so fuck you. You never fed me. You never helped me out. Fuck you. You never did this for me. Fuck you. Fuck you. And they hate you afterwards. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Maybe you don't need them. Maybe they weren't meant to be around you. And that's what people are going to face. I can see that. Some people will sacrifice themselves for their friends and family. And they don't. And that's fine. Other people are like, oh my God. Believe me, I wish I could feed the world. I wish I could feed everyone that's not prepared, that laughed at me. That when they need help, I want to help them. But at the expense of what and who? That's what we're going to be facing at some point. And so I said, yep, diaphragm pain gone, now slight headache, not anymore. That was yesterday. Clear pipes though. I drank espresso and milk. Wow, that was a difference in my head. I had a slight productive cough and a few hives. Nothing crazy, and body is releasing. And so there's a picture of this of a building that's in Alaska that is average negative 50 degrees throughout the year. And they rely on everything in that place. What happens when they have no electricity and they're in negative 50 degrees? They're all freezing to death. You don't want to be in that situation where you're relying on the infrastructure to keep you alive. Because if you don't have the immune system and the body and a few resources at your disposal in extreme conditions, you won't survive. The system is getting rid of the weak, the indigent, those in denial of everything. The system is cleaning up the system. And so I said, worst U.S. states to live in when the power grid collapses. I had to watch that because I wanted to see if Ohio was on there. And so when your necessities are imported and the grid goes down, you're screwed. When the weather is so extreme and there is no electricity to give you climate control, you're screwed. Being so far away from resources because you're so remote, because you're so afraid of society, you're screwed. The big house, the collection of cars, living remotely, living in vacation areas or Hollywood or Northern California, those days are over. Okay, so you can imagine when all those migrants come in and take up occupied homes or unoccupied homes, like let's say Beverly Hills and Malibu and even, Orange County, California, right? And then drives people away because they don't want to live amongst, riffraff or whatever. Well, it's probably good. Maybe you buy your house somewhere like in Ohio and get away from the California coast. And then there's tsunamis. I mean, you saw the future Forbes map of America and the bunkers of the billionaire bunker type of stuff, which could be because of climate change and they're living underground versus outside all the time. But you can only imagine that maybe tsunamis and hurricanes and other things that happen to take away the life of the migrants that are squatting in houses they never bought. So I'd say cut your losses and get the hell out of the coastlines, get out of Florida, get out of California. And they're saying that the Haitians are coming to Florida. There might be face-eating monsters, who the fuck knows, cannibals, whatever. Get out of Florida. Get the hell out of Florida. Okay, so you can imagine that then all the Haitians that come from Florida or from Haiti go into Florida, occupy the homes that are unoccupied. There's fights among people, crazy chaos, and then these hurricanes come through. And they wash everybody away, drown them. That's a perfect way to eliminate the useless eaters when you think about the larger plan. You bring in the migrants from Mexico and South America, they go up to California. You bring in the migrants from Florida, they go up there, Texas, all the bordering states, all the areas that, yeah. And then you have hurricanes, excessive heat, flooding, tsunamis, and then the oceans are rising. Yeah, I would go inland. I would be fucking smart and go inland. Read the room. Read the freaking room. Is it worth being an expat in a third world country if you don't really know the future of your area? Maybe it's time to reevaluate your future, your current choices, unless you sunk all your money into being somewhere else when society collapses in America. When your empire falls because there's no internet and phone lines are down, first responders are stuck, it's just straight human survival in your immediate area. I'm going to have at least 3 neighbors I can relatively trust. And they're mostly relatively self-sufficient. I mean, I'm making an assumption. I can't guarantee that they are. I try to warn them, make sure you stock up on food, water, and whatever for at least 1 to 2 weeks, 3 days, mobility. They might be laughing at me right now. Who knows? When you're stuck in your home, because if you go out there, you must be subject to violence. It will be just you, fate, and whatever you're prepared for. You won't have someone to give you cash app count, no one to brag about whatever it is that you're doing or traveling. You might actually have to talk to your spouse, and you might also have to survive a heart attack or a stroke. Some people will have to live with bodies in their house until the grid goes back on because someone died. These are the 10 worst states according to this person based upon the analysis of the infrastructure, the people in the future. The smart cities might be the place to be, but they don't last forever. You don't know if the prototypes they're developing will last very long. Okay, they could be using the people that are there now as experiments. Everything right now is going to be experimental. There's going to be a master plan of best practices when it comes to smart cities and how they develop those cities. And the system can afford to build a smart city and have it be washed away by a hurricane. But they have taken the information, taken the data, taken all their analysis of it, and then develop a best practices and then apply to an area that they want to be a smart city and to other countries. So again, America is going to be used as a tool, as an experimental tool, and you got to realize that. Okay? And so that's why I pay attention to the future Forbes map of the world, because billionaire bunkers and the world, billionaire bunkers and the asteroids, because that might be the end result. California sunk into the ocean, Nevada sunk into the ocean, parts of the West sunk into the ocean, parts of the Midwest sunk into the ocean. But you'll have to withstand some devastation and destruction to get to that point. Okay? So you must survive each phase and sequence and anticipate the worst. Right now, we're in the first sequence, destruction, first wave of people dying from issues. People will eventually wake up to the situation I've been talking about for the last 20 years, and something is wrong here, right? But it'll be too late for them. The building of the smart cities, ironing out issues and glitches, developing a prototype and model to work from for the rest of the world. So again, will be used as an experiment. So even though San Diego might be used as a smart city, doesn't mean they're going to stick around. It just means that they'll use the people that are there now as a tool for an example for the rest of the world. And then when they die from a catastrophic hurricane or tornado or flooding, then they can take all that information and apply it somewhere else. Even some smart cities in the future will be destroyed because maybe that area was not meant to be inhabited by people in the future. San Diego, just survive and listen to indicators. Okay, a constant electrical scale down of people as the frequencies get turned up. The weak will continue to be compromised until the last person is standing, and they are strong, they are durable, and they can handle change. If you can get out of these 10 states, if it's possible, and reevaluate your area, I would suggest you do it. If you live in any other part of the country in the world, use this model to work from in your area. Pay attention to everything. And so they mentioned Alaska, weather, extreme weather, imported food. It's not a place to live. It's not a place to survive. Nevada, weather, imported, no water. Okay, when Las Vegas shuts down, everything shuts down. When all those homes you see, just a sea of suburban homes, when there is no electricity and it's so hot and so dry and hardly any water, yeah, I wouldn't live in Nevada. Florida, heat, bugs, weather, tornadoes, and hurricanes. I wouldn't live in Florida either. California, packed too tightly. They're drying up as we speak. And I wouldn't live in Arizona either, but whatever. New York, elevator, coffin, scary areas of heat, people packed on top of each other. Texas, heat, lack of water. Mississippi, weather, tornadoes, hurricanes, sanitation issues. Louisiana, swamps and hurricanes. Rhode Island, floods, low population, financial lifeline. West Virginia, economic fragility, home foreclosures, and of course, not enough resources to help people when they're going through different issues. Maybe it's better migrants take up unoccupied homes in Florida, Texas, and California, because if they can push people out to better states, when California and Florida and other places like Texas becomes compromised, maybe that situation helps people get to a better state. Okay? I mean, it might seem like it's optimal to live in Malibu or Beverly Hills, not when the grid goes down, or be faced with tsunamis and climate change and rising waters. And so again, I think my decision to go to Ohio is the best regardless of the eclipse and the path of totality. We have the Great Lakes. We have the salt mines. And we will have smart cities. If there's an earthquake, it's just surviving that. So I don't discount the New Madrid fault line going to cause so much shit. Okay? The system is giving you a heads up. Maybe it's time to start looking at the future. Don't say nothing's going to happen to you in some of these states. The weather the last 3 years should be a major indicator. Time to start uprooting yourself. The good times are slowly diminishing. The instability on the grid going down is definitive. You just don't know when the reality will finally drop. But I will say everything after April 8th will be up in the air, literally up in the air. And they have been warning you and conditioning you. And reality is like gravity. When it drops, some don't survive. That's why you don't want to be too high up in your ivory tower, so far away from resources. As you can see, supply chains break down, can happen to the best of cities. Baltimore will recover. They will be a smart city. Some places will not be smart cities. They will be destroyed. So if I had money in California and I was liquid, I would buy a house somewhere in Ohio or the states that are relatively safe, almost sight unseen, put that money in the bank, see if the roof is relatively good, make sure you have have a partial or whole finished basement, a fireplace, and then take that money to fix up anything that you need to. I wouldn't buy so much furniture or superfluous crap. I would buy a bunch of food, make sure you have wood, make sure you have a bed, a couch, Wi-Fi, you'll need that. Can openers, freeze-dried food. You may not be there forever, but at least you'll have a safe place and you're getting out of wherever you are. Remember what happened to the Dust Bowl and people had to migrate to the areas that were financially safe, like Cannery Row, Monterey, California, whatever. We are in reverse, but you better be strategic. Get away from the coastlines. Go to Central. And that's the thing, is that's why the system is heating things up, I'm sure. Because once people get wind that they're in the bad area, whether it's California, Florida, New York, right, other places, and they're going to try to buy up stuff. Some people just don't have the means to. They don't have the means to. They're stuck. But those who are smart will uproot very quickly. But so many people are in denial. 39 million people are in denial in California. 39 million. Can you imagine how many people in Florida are in denial? How many people are in California are in denial? How many people in Texas are in denial? How many people in New York are in denial? I mean, shit. It sucks. But what are you going to do? I got to pee. Hold on. But you know how people are. They don't recognize indicators. Remember, they're under the influence, or they're too poor, or they're taking care of somebody, or they have so much crap that they don't want to throw away, or they have too much of a social life and social capital, they can't leave it. Yeah, people are screwed. What are you gonna do? Okay. All right, I'm not gonna read all this. I'm getting a little bit tired. So you get it? You get it? No matter what, I remember when I was a kid, my mom would give me these arbitrary rules about stuff, and I didn't agree with them, but she says, I don't care if you agree with the rules or not. These are the rules. These are the actions. These are the consequences. And if you violate the rules, these are the consequences. And I was always testing the system, and I always get punished for it. And I always test the system and get punished for it. And so I learned that every single time I broke a rule, I would have a consequence, and I have to deal with that consequence. And I did. And I didn't, I just dealt with it. And then even when I knew that she was going to find out that I had homework on that Friday, but I knew that Monday she would find out, and I lied about it. I knew I was going to get in trouble, but I chose to have a free weekend and then get in trouble 2 days later. And I chose that, so I couldn't get mad. I couldn't say like, oh God, no, you already warned me, and I chose to disobey, or I chose to lie, or I chose to do this, and I will reap the consequences, and I did, and okay. And so that's the thing. So no matter what, whatever the system says, even if it doesn't make sense to you, and they recommend something, danger, whatever, and you want to laugh in the face of this, that, and whatever, because you're all about politics, religion, and science, the system gave you a choice. And so then you can't blame them when you get caught up in a situation where you're either dead or your kids are dead or whatever, and because you laughed in the face of recommendations. So, all right, that's all I'm going to say right now. That's all I'm going to say. Because the sun's shining through, and it's causing, yeah. So I got to go sit in the dark. Okay. And that's all I'm going to say. All right, so good luck. You're going to need it. But I will say that, yeah, it's time to stay home, get out of the sun, be in the dark, feel the pain and suffering, find a way to be like one of those that live underground but in your home, and try not to follow the crowd out there. And sometimes it might be worth just leaving all that crap that you're so used to, the social capital, all of that, because you can't take it with you if you believe you should die someday. But again, if you don't care you should die someday, then you'll go out with a bang, and we thank you for your service. All right. Bye. Come on.